Hello, and welcome to a very special episode today. I'm very excited for this one because we're going to be talking about how to make money online. Precisely, I want to talk about how I went from making just $5 a day to over $300 in a single day just in the span of a few months. As some of you will already know, I quit my full-time corporate job about 4 months ago to pursue this YouTube channel full time. And I created a video to kind of celebrate that, where at the end of the video I said, so if you like reality TV, then subscribe to my channel because this is gonna be as real as it gets. Incredible, so full of the zest of life. If that video seemed a little bit overly emotionally charged, it's because, that's kind of how I felt at the time. Well, this video right here is to sort of follow up on what I said, because not only do I want you to be able to learn personal finance on this channel, but I also want you to kind of follow along with me and track my progress as I build this business in real time. So here's what you can expect in today's video. Oh, and by the way, right now I have about, I think, 15.5K subscribers. So we'll keep that in mind if you're watching this video in the future, just so we can kind of gauge this video properly. First, I'd like to share my reflections on quitting my job and how that whole change has been, so that you can consider it in regards to your own decisions. I'd also like to share my thought process about making money online. Third, I'll take you through my actual numbers so we can analyze them together in nitty-gritty detail. Fourth, I'll talk a little bit about future plans. And finally, I will share some parting words of advice for you to take down your own road. So I think it's safe to say that this episode is going to be packed with the goods. Now, before we actually begin, of course, fall is now in the air. The leaves are changing into beautiful new colors. So let's get the wardrobe a little bit more cozy here. That's a lot better, so much more cozy. But I think we're still missing one thing. Hold on one second. Fresh mint tea. I fell in love with this stuff when I was visiting the Netherlands exactly 2 years ago. And particularly relevant to today's video, when I was in the Netherlands, I was shooting with a Nikon D5200. For those of you who aren't familiar, this camera is pretty dated at this point and wasn't the best, as you can see from the video quality here. So while it wasn't the worst, it definitely wasn't the best. This camera I'm using now, the Sony a7 III, I only upgraded to about a year or so ago. So it goes to show that especially while you're honing your craft, you don't need to worry about having the best gear or best equipment. Just get out there, put your feet on the ground, and get to work. All right, I'm actually a bit cold, so let's go back inside. Okay, so June 5th of this year was my last day of work for an employer. Maybe I'll make June 5th a special day for me. Anyway, how did I feel on that day? How did I feel to finally liberate myself from the shackles of the traditionally trodden path in life? Well, to be honest, it was kind of a really big mixed bag at that point. Part of me felt like I could finally breathe, like I had finally listened to my true self and stopped listening to what other people wanted me to be. But I also felt immense anxiety. And that's because on June 5th, I made a whopping $5.81 on YouTube. Yeah, I wasn't exactly jumping ship to some big cash flowing thing. I mean, my YouTube channel was and still very much is in its infant stages. And I mean, I'm not even a full year in at this point. But somehow between June 5th and September 21st, about 108 days, I was able to multiply that $5.81 55 times over to earning $325 in a single day on YouTube. $325. I mean, I literally felt like this wasn't real. I was just getting back from a 4-day long backcountry camping trip where I wasn't able to check my phone at all. When I opened up my YouTube studio on the way home and saw that things were blowing up. It's kind of funny. I mean, right when I took that short break away from my phone and social media and looking at all the stats and everything is precisely when I started getting all that new traffic. Kind of gives you something to think about. So since September 21st, I'm no longer earning quite that much money every day, but I'm still earning a good amount more than that $5.81. So at the moment, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable in that regard from when I initially jumped ship from my corporate job. When I first took the leap, I definitely had concerns about when the income I was earning would start to become meaningful. But because I had saved about $90,000 to act as a cash parachute of sorts to fund this project, it helped keep the anxiety to a manageable level and allowed my confidence in myself to take the forefront so that I could focus on just making the best work I possibly could. And here's where I'd like to point out something very important in terms of how I've kind of grown to think about making money online. The way I see it, there's kind of two main paths that you can actually take. The first path would be to create work that completely caters towards the algorithm of the social media platform of your choice, thus maximizing the amount of eyeballs that sees your work and then therefore the amount of revenue that you're going to earn. The way that you do this in 2020 anyway basically means that you make sure your work has some shiny packaging, just like a product on a shelf. And what I mean by that in plain English is that basically you create a thumbnail and a title that's as clickbait as it possibly can, with very sensationalized titles and kind of over-the-top crazy faces. Because click-through rate is so important on a platform like YouTube, it leads to a bit of a clickbait war where everyone is competing for clicks. And on top of that, the algorithm seems to favor people who post multiple times per week. So by posting highly clickable content a few times per week, you can essentially craft your work around pleasing an algorithm and collect your fat paycheck in return. You're essentially playing the system. And I mean, I have no problem if that's what you want to do. Go ahead and collect your bag. But for me personally, that's not exactly the road that I want to take. Because to me, that sounds a lot like working for an employer. You become an employee of the algorithm, having to churn out hollow content a few times per week wrapped in a deceiving title and thumbnail. And I quit that employer life about 4 months ago, so I'm not about to go back to catering to something in that way. So the way that I approach making money online, specifically on a social media platform, is to put impact and fulfillment as my top priorities instead of clickbait and output. I didn't quit my job primarily because I wanted to make more money. I quit because I wanted to actually feel fulfilled about conducting work that I believe is meaningful and impacts people. And I believe that money will follow. Money flows to where value is created. But I don't want a single cent of that money if I don't feel good about how it's being created. So, will I grow slower not doing this with my face in every single thumbnail as if the sky is falling?
Should I zoom in on you when you do that, like The Office? One more.
One more?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, probably. Will I make less money by posting only one video per week that I take the time to put my love into? Almost certainly, but I'll be much happier. Much happier. Anyway, I guess that's my little rant about how I'm currently thinking about making money online, and I'm sure that my ideas will continue to develop and I'll continue to experiment with different things, and we can all look back on this one day and kind of maybe even cringe a little bit about how undeveloped my ideas are. Now, let's move on to what a lot of you are here for, the numbers. So I've got my laptop here and let's go through some of my YouTube numbers, and then I can also talk about some of my other revenue streams as well. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is my stats for my revenue going all the way back to January 1st of this year. So you can see actually at January 1st, I wasn't even monetized yet. So I was literally earning $0. And then if we fast forward all the way until September of this year, we can see this is when I had that one crazy day of $325 in one single day. And you can obviously see here is when at the beginning of September, things just started going crazy. And then you can see that they kind of leveled off here and found kind of a new plateau going forwards into October. So, I mean, this was just absolutely crazy for me because here's about where I quit my job. About June 5th was my last official day. So you can see all around this area, I was barely making over $10 a day some days, but most days were under $10 every day I was making at that point. So I was feeling, very excited about the future and very confident in myself and what I was creating. But I mean, looking at those numbers made me feel very anxious, to say the least. And I mean, that didn't change for a long period of time. You can see going through July, nothing really changed too much. August, same thing. It wasn't until this crazy period when things kind of just started blowing up and I started making some ridiculous amounts of money. Now, in my experience, what kind of seems to happen on YouTube anyway is that you'll kind of hit this random period where all of a sudden, for whatever reason, your content just seems to get pushed out to a whole bunch more people than it usually does. And then it'll basically go like a rocket ship blasting off to the moon. But then it'll fall pretty rapidly after that as well, and then kind of level out at a new plateau. But it's like you kind of like boost it up, came down, but then you're at a new level now. So that's happened to my channel quite a few times at this point. You can't really see it on this graph because this one obviously dwarfs that completely. But the main thing that I really want to highlight here is the power of multiplication when you're making money on something like YouTube. And that's because to go from $5.81 per day, I didn't just 10x that. I think 65x'd that to get it to 325. So the power for your income potential to just multiply into crazy amounts is there. And that's what's really interesting and exciting about using a platform like YouTube. So all in all, you can see in September, I made just under $4,000 for the month off of AdSense alone. And before that, if I go back to what we were looking at before at the beginning of January, you can see that in total, I've made about $5,300 on YouTube. So the vast majority of that all came in September when all of this new traction started to come to my channel. Now, actually in September, so I made about $4,000 in AdSense, but because of my other revenue streams, which are affiliate partnerships right now, my grand total income for September was actually about $5,300 to $5,400, which is, it's crazy. It's crazy to me. I still can't believe it that I went from making maybe like $200, $300, $400 per month to $5,400 in 1 month. It was absolutely insane. So with my other revenue streams, these affiliate partnerships, my philosophy when I agree to do partnerships with certain companies at this point is that I want it to be a win-win situation. And what I mean by that is I want to only partner with companies that I either personally use or believe in. So for example, two of my big partnerships are with Wealthsimple and with EQ Bank, who are both companies and products that I really, really like and I personally use. I keep tens of thousands of dollars with both of those companies. So I'm very happy to recommend those to you. So what I mean by this win-win situation is that I get to basically show you something that you might have not been aware of before, and it provides great value to you. So that's a win for you. And then it's also a win for me because I get compensated in accordance with that new value I've created for you. Now, as it stands, that's just really two streams of revenue. I have YouTube AdSense, and then I also have my affiliate partnerships. So this isn't exactly the ideal situation I want to be in. I don't want to be so heavily reliant on YouTube AdSense like this because it means that I'm reliant on the algorithm. I want to be able to create my own things where I can exchange value with you in a more direct way. So that's exactly what I did. I guess this is as good as a time as ever to announce something. I created a course, my first ever course. And I consider this to be a bit of a soft or secret launch because, let's be honest, at this point in a YouTube video, on average, probably about half the audience has already checked out already because of people's attention spans. So this is really for you, my true and engaged fans of Cash College, who I appreciate so much. I created this course to essentially compile the exact blueprint of knowledge and skills you would need to develop and achieve financial freedom and possibly quit your job or retire early. It's my best teachings I can share with you wrapped into one complete package. I've spent countless hours over the past few months working on this, and I have to say I'm really proud of it, and I really think that it has the power to impact your life in a very positive way. The one thing I really wanted to make sure I did with this course is I wanted to make sure I could pack at least twice as much value into it than what you're actually paying for, and that's because I'm doing this whole YouTube thing, this whole content creation thing, all of this for the long term, which means I want to build a really strong foundation of integrity that I can stand upon. So if you'd like a more direct transmission of value between you and I, you can check out the link in the description down below to check out the course. Overall, in terms of a business plan, this basically decreases my reliance on catering towards an algorithm and allows me to diversify the ways in which I can offer you whatever value I may have that you might want from me. So I see this as a win-win for both of us. Now, if I could share some parting words of advice to you, let's say you're interested in YouTube, making money online in general, or you're wanting to quit your job. I hope I've done a half-decent job of kind of outlining the dilemma that I think everyone inevitably faces once you start gaining traction on social media. And that is essentially forming your own philosophy about how you want to monetize the actual work that you're doing on social media. What type of values do you want to be at the forefront of what you're creating? I'm not going to tell you what that should be or should look like. That's definitely not my place. All I would say is to just think about those ideas and have a plan in place for once money actually starts flowing. Because once it does, I don't think that genie is going back in the bottle. And so this is where I will leave you today. I hope you found it very interesting. I personally really enjoyed making this little update for you guys, and I would definitely like to make more of them as this whole thing continues to unfold. So make sure to subscribe if you're not already so that you can follow along. And of course, don't forget to hit the like button because, as I've said, I am ever so reliant right now on the almighty algorithm. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon.